You're listening to the Young Talk podcast by First Church Young Adults.
Well, y'all, welcome to the Young Talk podcast. My name is Matt. I'm here with Brandon, Harris, and Sharon. And today we get to talk about identity and what that means.
Okay.
And like, who am I?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, we're about 2000. We're about 2002 Catholic.
That was my special song for Wednesday services for youth night.
Really?
Yes.
Way back. Yo, I'm telling you, and you remember when you had the sign team with the gloves and the dowel rods?
Sign language team, yes.
We're surely fading here today and gone. Yo, why do I remember these signs?
Bro, that's
you on the sign
I
team?
met, bro.
I was on the sign team.
Did you do the gloves with the black light?
I did.
That was always the coolest.
I did. I was a 16-year-old in the band and on the sign team at church.
Cool.
I got one bully. Say something.
All the bullies.
Like, on the sign team. And then when we did a gospel song, I remember that was my cardio.
Because they probably gave you the... Yeah. Do they give you the male solos? Did you ever have any solos?
Well, I had the male solo on that one.
Or the stone was rolled away.
I did that after.
Yes.
Did you guys ever do the skit with the song? Oh, I don't remember the song.
I know what you're talking
But
about.
where it's like, yes, where they're dancing, the girl is dancing with Jesus, and then like all the temptation comes at her.
You could speak to me. I'll hear you.
Oh, my word.
So funny.
Yeah, that was the stuff.
Loved it.
That one, yes.
I think I wanted the demons.
And the
Oh,
you mean one of the demons? I was the lascivious lady.
I was this guy.
Oh, my
The
word.
guy who was on the sign team and band was the guy who was, whatever.
The drunk girl.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Souvenir. Shout out for them. Was it John? It was John. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We have
So funny.
group, so I was on every tear.
Oh, wow.
I'm told. All right, so identity, right?
Who am I?
No, so I just been thinking like we're gonna. I'm not gonna get social or political and everything in between. Not gonna get all that, but apparently identity is a big thing for our generation.
Yeah.
Right, millennials, Gen Z, we're all about who are we? We're identify as whatever. But identity is not new, and it's also it doesn't lay in biblically it doesn't lay in what everybody says it lays on. Our identity is actually not even in our what you see on the outside. That's a very small part of our identity. That's just that's how we look. I was reading this verse. It's in Psalm 119, 105. Said your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. And what that says, that's as far as I can tell, his word is telling us where we're at. Like what's important is where are you at in this present moment? And for the sake of this conversation, who are you in this moment? Your path. So it's not even, I used to think that was your destination. It would tell you, hey, how if I was driving from here to I don't know, Nashville, Tennessee or something like that, I would know my destination. But that's not what it means. It means it's a lamp, your source of light, to your feet, where you're at, and that lamp gives off a light unto your path. So you see right ahead of you, what your next step is. So who you are is going to define kind of what your next step is and what it's going to look like. And we'll get more into that. But this also came from a book that I highly recommend, Atomic Habits by James Clear. All my Christian folks, I checked it. There is a website called Compass to where just you can check to see if a movie has any vulgar language. They have that for books too.
Oh, it's like VidAngel.
It's like VidAngel.
Yeah.
I looked it up just to make sure before I suggested it that I don't have any propensity. It does it. So Mama, she can read it too. So quotes from that, and then I want to get Joe's thoughts on it. He says these. He says, good habits can make rational sense, but if they conflict with your identity, you're failed to put them into action. Your identity emerges out of your habits. Then another thing he says, when you make your bed, you embody the identity of someone who is clean and organized. And making a choice that is 1% better, 1% worse than insignificant in the moment, and over the span of moments that makes up a lifetime of these. And this is what he says. And this is kind of where I'm thinking about identity and why it's so important, is that every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of who you are. And when I'm thinking about identity and why identity is so important, I think it's just because it lays out the trajectory of our lives. And I know as Christians, we kind of like, the word is where our identity is. So I said all that kind of lead to this first question on, how do we see ourselves? Like, what is your perception of yourself, and how has that affected your decisions, like moves, the way you approach situations? Like, how does it affect that?
Hey, we are taking a break from this podcast episode to thank you so much for tuning in. If you're enjoying this content and if this is something that you would like to support, you can now give via the link in our description. Your contribution is so significant to us, and it helps us to continue to produce this content every single week. Our hope is to share this message of love, truth, and hope with as many young people as we possibly can. And you, with as little as $3 a month, can help us make that a reality. You can now be investing in our ministry. So, if you'd like to partner with us, hit the link in our description and we will make sure to give you a shout out in a future episode. All right, so let's get back to the content.
Well, I think straight off, like as Christians, we are Jesus's disciples. Like that one-on-one, my life, my goal in life is to be the salt and light for Jesus as a Christian. So, biblically speaking, that is why I'm on this planet. That is why I do what I do, is because I'm here to spread the gospel as a Christian. That is who I identify to be. So I think straight off the bat, that's my identity. Yeah. That's my goal. That is my sole mission, is to be the salt and light for Jesus. Yeah.
You look like you're pondering, Brandon.
I know.
I can only see it. Man, Matt gave us this deep question.
I know.
Identity. Can you ask that last part of the question?
So basically, how have you seen yourself? Like, how do you see yourself, and how do you feel like that affects your day to day?
I'm this person that's very, just kind of like, I feel like I'm easygoing. Yeah. I feel like, I hope I am in a sense, very like, not calculating in my steps or whatever, but I feel like I'm very like reserved in a lot of things. So the way I approach my day is it's going through that vein, it's going through that scope. Yeah. So like waking up the bed, like all that stuff, all that easygoing stuff is going to be part of my day. Now, when it comes to more like ministry, I don't think. Well, I feel the things that I have been doing lately would not be categorized as like easygoing type of thing. Like, for instance, I get to serve with the youth. I get to serve young adults. Serve on Sunday mornings, playing instruments. So I'm on the forefront. So it's like someone who's reserved might not like, or introvert. Yeah, I'm a huge introvert. Might not be that person that you would see that would volunteer himself to be in the forefront, like like the youth, like maybe a worship night or leading on a acoustic and sing. Like those type of things just don't make sense. So I feel like, God knowing who we are, He designed us in a way that, thank God that sometimes the ministry doesn't match, our.
That's true.
That is so true.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
That's so good.
Thank God it doesn't, because I feel that, I wouldn't be here probably right now.
Right.
This right here, like
It's uncomfortable.
That's the whole point of being spirit-led.
The whole point of being spirit-led, because this for sure, like I was thinking about it as I was driving here. I'm like, I'm just like, my heart was throbbing. I was overthinking. Like I'm on my iPad. Like I was trying. Sherelle was asking.
I know. I felt bad.
I felt bad because I'm not giving her like clear answers, and I'm like, man, these don't make sense. Like I'm doing all these things because, like in the back of my mind, like I'm like, man, I don't feel like I meet up to par. But I just want to say that, like, yeah, like, thank God ministry isn't depicted upon like your personality and your character, like, yeah, it helps in some kind of fashion, but that's just kind of my mindset on.
This may kind of help me figure you guys out. What's your Enneagram?
Oh,
Do you feel like, okay, here's a question. With that, do you think that, I know you're into it. I know you're into it.
Oh, I
Do you think that has some relation to your identity?
oh, 1,000,000%.
Oh, it's I and this is what I tell everybody. Everybody like, bless God, bless God. All right, whatever. I think it gives clarity to a layer of who you are. Just like
I agree.
it gives another layer of perception. Just like the red, the blue, the green. I think gives another perception.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It helps you understand yourself. Like, that's why I do that. Because at the end of the day, we are all wired the same. Not wired the same. We're all wired differently, but intricately by God. So, like,
Yes.
does that make sense? Like, we all have, because we're human, we're all the same. We're all human.
And wonderfully made.
Exactly.
I will say a pet peeve is if someone's like, I'm a 4, so naturally I come off a little. And it's like, or whatever you are. It's like,
So that's why.
they use it as like
I'm an 8.
excuse.
I'm an 8 and a 3. 50-50. Every time I take it, it's 50-50. So I don't know which one I am.
Do you think the best litmus test is read the descriptions and whichever one you feel the most embarrassed by? That's what you are.
Oh, God.
That makes sense.
Which one do you feel like you're more embarrassed of?
Probably mine, because it's like, it comes off very like dictatorship type vibes. Like, that's like my it is, it's true. It's like a 3 is like you're a dictator.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like, they put like labels with it. Like,
Yeah, I think back in my day when it was like the performer. So your love is the amount of love that you get from other people is proportionate to what you do. It's kind of like the 3s. Not that it's true, but that's how 3s perceive. Like, I'm only as good as my last project.
yeah,
Really sad. All of them are kind of sad.
they are. It is.
I'm a 9.
I'm a 1. Number 1.
That makes so much sense.
I'm the peacemaker, and here's the journey for 9s. By the way, we already 9s out. Your journey is to go from peacekeeper to peacemaker, because peacekeeping's easy. Just don't say anything ever. But peacemakers are the ones that let's have this uncomfortable confrontation because I want future peace.
See, that's what makes the world go around, because I'm the complete opposite. Like, if for me to have peace, it's like I have to speak my mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's just really interesting to me.
Do you know what you are? You've never taken it?
I've had this conversation before with somebody.
Actually, it was on this podcast. I remember. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I remember going through it. I don't remember that.
You were 6, a loyalist.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that weird? How, like,
So weird.
studies can do
Not
that.
that I am one, because magic. But
More witchcraft.
so the 6s are the Ron Weasleys in your life, and they're also Lord of the Rings. You know, if you on that vein, it is the Sams.
I'm RDJ.
Aw.
6s are the Sams to your Frodo. They're the Ron to your. They're the John to your Jesus.
Oh, my word.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. What's the wing to that?
So with 6, your wings are either 5 or they're 7. Your wings are what's touching.
Oh, right now. Oh,
Yeah, so like I'm a non-wing 1. So even though which is crazy because it kind of balances out. So I have no, I just lied to you. Sorry. 1, I'm a non-winged 8, which that combination is so free.
For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, Enneagram test basically just describes your personality. It's a test that you take.
It's the moment.
Take it.
Go take it. It's fun.
It's very interesting.
I struggled, though, taking it.
Yeah, Gen X, Myers-Briggs, Millennials, and Gen Z have Enneagrams.
It's hard to not pick what you want to be. You know what I mean? It's like, are you more loving or are you more this? I'm like, I want to be loving. Like, you know?
Just perception from a non. Also, there are some websites that said Jesus was a non. Not to say I'm like Jesus, but
Wow. That's so interesting.
humble. So very, very humble.
Oh, so humble of you to point that out. Yeah. Yeah.
In the room, and everyone we're walking to. The thing I'm most proud of.
Oh, my word.
But they, I would even suggest don't even take the test. Just read through them, and whichever one embarrasses you, do that. And also YouTube videos. They have Enneagram YouTube videos where these content creators will go on and say, Like it'll have like Enneagrams when they're late for something. And it's just like, you know,
That's
one's like,
funny.
oh my gosh. And now they're like, I'm just going to go take a nap.
Yeah.
I love those.
That's how that is. I might be it now.
You may be in line. He loves a good nap.
Can you take it so like the next time this gets brought up, we're like, okay, you're officially this.
Yeah.
I'll send you a link.
Certificate to say.
That's true.
Do they give you a certificate?
They email you one.
Completion, yeah, they give you a completion. Like,
I don't think I got one. I'm gonna check my email.
I got it. I think it used to be free. They might make you pay for it now. So with well, two mics, so what is your feedback? Yeah, but it all comes back, and I think it's good because identity matters to God, and that's why it makes sense that in church people are like, man, don't take more personality tests than my corporation does. And the reason is because identity matters to God. So you think about, I mean, every name in the Bible means something.
Yeah, it's so
You know what
true.
I'm saying? So like Gideon, and he's just one of many examples, but before God told Gideon any kind of plans, right? If y'all know Gideon, he was one of the judges in Israel. A really cool story, but basically, Gideon was hiding, crushing grapes with his feet, feeling defeated.
Oh my gosh.
No, but he's sitting there crushing grapes, and he is. The narrative hasn't played out like the way he sees himself is a very scared, feeble man. That's how he sees himself. And God comes in and says, "Oh Gideon, mighty man of valor," because before God could even get Gideon set on the trajectory that he had for his life, on the preferred plan to save Israel, the first thing that God had to change was how Gideon saw himself. And we see it again with Moses, who was a fugitive, and he was like the picture of rejection, right? Because he was too Egyptian to be Jewish and too Jewish to be Egyptian, and nobody liked him. And then God called him from a burning bush, and the stories go on and on and on. So I wanted to ask, like, there's a lot of things that can happen to us or things that we do that affect like how we see ourselves. But do y'all remember a time that happened or a situation that you handled that shifted the way you thought about yourself in a positive way? Because I know we all have millions of things that went, like, even after this conversation, where like I'm gonna go home and think, oh man, did I
should
say that?
Yeah.
said that.
So there's millions of those, but can you remember one time where you handled a situation or said a thing or did a thing that shifted your perception to where, in a positive way, to where you felt like I'm in the vein of what God wants me to be in, like I'm doing what God has called me to do?
Man.
Let me think for a minute.
Yeah.
And I'll also I may just like put these two together because Andy Stanley like asked this question, and he's like, if you're struggling on what your calling is, and I think it's such a good question, but if you want to know what your calling is, you first have to figure out who you are and what breaks your heart. And that, because the Bible says God gives us the desires of our heart. And I mean, sure, a layer of that could be you pray for it, God's going to do it, God's going to work miracle signs and wonders. That can be one layer of it. But I think the main layer of that is when God created you, like he said in Jeremiah, like before you were even formed of the woman I had for you.
Yeah.
So I think God like literally puts desires in your heart.
Yeah.
That makes up your identity, makes up your trajectory. So
It's true.
So with that, kind of in that vein, who are you and what breaks your heart? And I guess tying on to the question, what has been a situation you've dealt with that has like confirmed that?
When you're saying what breaks your heart, it brings me back to these memories of like years ago when my husband and I, when we just started on youth ministry, and, you know, we would see a student, you know, fall away or, you know, leave church or whatever. We'd weep, we would cry. What could we have done? Like, did we do enough? Like, I think that's when we realized, like, okay, this is a huge burden. Obviously, we were already serving in the ministry, but we realized, like, this, like, it affected us so much. It was our burden. That's so, like you said, what breaks your heart? It breaks us. It literally breaks us. And so, yeah, it makes total sense. It's like, okay, whatever breaks your heart, it's what your heart is. Yeah. I love that. I've never put that together. Yeah. As simple as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're hard questions. Who are you? Well, I'm Matt. What is that? What do you mean by Matt? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
All right, calm down.
It'd be easier if our parents named us how they did back in the Bible.
Oh my word.
Gift from God, which makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I'm the most humble gift in here. Welcome, world.
Do you know what your name means? Anybody?
Yeah, mine's Pretty Lady.
And
Perfect.
at one point I didn't know, but I forgot.
Mine is Joyful Song.
Aw.
I know. My mom thought she made up my name, but she didn't.
Lakely's is River Princess.
Do you know what your last name means?
Something German that's bad. Wagner.
So I did a project, like it was like a 3-minute presentation where I like looked up the origin of last names. Most of our last names are either occupationally based, like shoemaker, Smith with black,
That's so true. I've never thought about that.
or it was a descriptor, like Whitehead, Blackhead. Those are descriptors. And then you have names like Mom Gomez, which literally means man. Well, that's because one of my ancestors was fatherless and they literally didn't know. And so they were like, oh, Gomez, just another man.
Stop it.
Dude, that's insane.
That's why so many Gomez's. You think?
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder what.
I gotta make this into a reel. That is so interesting. Like, that is so cool. What?
I love that.
That is so cool.
And also,
Amazing.
In Mexican culture, where's Josh at? Yeah, like
He's back
in
there.
Latino culture, the reason why we have like 37 names, it's because in Latino culture, from what I've read on Wiki, right, they don't drop the maiden name because you know
They
how
don't.
they keep the maiden name. So you literally have your lineage in your name.
Ah, got you.
Yeah. Josh has his mom's maiden name.
Yeah. So Esteban Julio Ricardo Montoya does.
Oh my
Good
gosh.
question. What was it?
Okay, who are you?
Who are you?
Breaks your heart.
What breaks your heart?
Yeah, and has there been a situation?
I wasn't gonna let that question slide because that's a good question.
I would say, okay, for me, I feel like this is really specific, but people in high school, that's something that I like coming out of high school. I realized, holy cow, I just learned a lot going through high school. And I look at the kids, not kids, but I look at the young adults in high school now and I'm like, I don't want them to go through what I went through. Like, it breaks my heart thinking, oh my God, is my sister gonna have to fight that battle that I fought? Like, that freaks me out. And I've been like, for the past several months, she's about to be a freshman. We sit down maybe at least once a week and I'm like, Sissy, this is what you're gonna face and you need to prepare yourself because let me tell you, I should have prepared myself this way. And because I didn't listen, because I didn't do all these different things, I went through pain. And that freaks me out thinking about even kids in our youth group, like, what can I do to help them prepare for the hardships that they're gonna face?
So good.
Because the reality of it is kids now in public school is a complete 180 from the way it was 6 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, things have changed so fast that it's like, as youth pastors, as youth like leaders, role models, you have to try to keep up with it and be very aware of the battles that they're facing. So I think for me, like, what breaks my heart is seeing kids in high school go through some of the same things I may have went through. And so for me, it's like, what can I do to teach them? What can I do to teach my sister how to get over that, how to get through that?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel this recently shifting kind of things and where I am. So as far as where, like, I guess, quote, quote, where my arrow is being aimed is towards some adults. But like, and I'm still kind of just discovering this, but like, I feel like there's the heartbeat for young adults is like finding, of course, with that relationship with God if they don't have it. But then also, like, they're in an age where, like 18 and whatever up, they're at an age where, like, you know, hopefully they're not, but families and stuff start to kind of trickle down and careers and stuff. So, like, how to navigate that, how to have those goals and aspirations, and then maintain, or not maintain, but continually grow, you know, in God. Like, it's where they are now, and it's so pivotal. Like after high school, of course, like it's so pivotal because now they're on their own. They can do essentially whatever, you know, because they're grown, they're adults. So I feel like they're at a point. My heartbeat now is they're at a point now where they can make the decisions pretty on their, you know. So I want to be that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But now, of course, it's very new for me. It's the beginning, but you know, that's kind of where I am. It's developing in that
way. Yeah.
I think going off of that, like, I don't know, him saying young adults just like hit me with a reality check. Like December of last year, it was Josh, Rand, and I. We were sitting at First Cup drinking coffee, and we just sat there. We're like, let's start a podcast. Yeah. Why? Because we need it. We need to talk about real life situations, real life things, and we found our heartbeat in that conversation over coffee. And it's like now I'm like sitting here like, holy cow, we did it. Like we're doing that. We're feeding what broke our heart, what our passion was. So I think that's also something to add is young adults, like we are targeting this age group.
Yeah.
That's our heartbeat. That's why we're sitting here right now.
And it's kind of like one of those things like lived in forward and understood in reverse. And sometimes like, I think that's why God doesn't, and the way that I've seen God work in my wife's walk in faith has always been the next steps and has always been in suddenlies. Like God's not really it's good that we have transition plans. It's good that we have like timelines, but God is outside of our timeline. So whenever he does something, it's always sudden. But with that being said, the way we perceive what God has already done and his plan is like life is lived in forward and understood in reverse, in the sense that when we look back and it's like, oh, that's what that was for. And it's like, so this is kind of, okay, now God, I see what you're doing. Man, those are really good.
This was so good.
Yeah.
I loved it.
So, and this is like one of those things, like I was literally like, I was just going through different things that I've heard over the years, just about identity and like who you are. And like, you are a chosen generation, royal priesthood, holy nation. God understands, and he's trying to communicate to us, if we know who we are in him, then we will be able to do the things that he's called us to do. Not in the business of building castles, because we see that on Instagram. We see it everywhere we go, where it's like, oh man, do this, get a lot of money, which that's great, be blessed. But however, that's building castles, and we're in a kingdom building business. I think God is doing that in us and through us. So any last thoughts on?
No, this was amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
This could be a part 2.
I know.
This is so awesome. Well, join us for our next episode of Young Talk. Go subscribe, like, comment. See y'all soon.
Thank you for listening to the Young Talk podcast, where we talk about Christ in culture. We upload a new episode every Friday, so see you next week.